Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Building an operating system from scratch is a complex and challenging project, often undertaken as a learning exercise or for very specific purposes. It requires a good understanding of computer science concepts, especially in areas like computer architecture, assembly language, C programming, and low-level system programming. A student at IIT Ghaziabad has achieved the same through his project called Bumblebee. Let's know more about it.
It is an operating system. So I have not built it a general purpose operating system. It is for education purposes to build your own operating system from scratch. So the motivation where I got to build this was I was into kernel hacking for about more than 8 months, and the difficulty what I found on the internet we don't have any structured documentation for kernels for operating systems to build it from scratch. We have Linux, that's the best thing to see, but as far it has gone open source, it has more than 90,000 files, 80,000 directories and all, and it is not possible to read it for a single person. So what I have done is well documented an operating system. I have built everything from scratch, all the bootloaders for 32-bit, 64-bit, both the technologies, BIOS and EFI. I am building the kernel step by step. I have built it to VX architecture from 32-bit. I have ported it to 64-bit as well to understand it well for the readers. I am doing it on the POSIX standard so that it can work for Linux like operating systems also. I have built so many tools from scratch also, so that there is a revolution for the low-level programming. I want that people start working on assembly and C. I have built the whole operating system using assembly and low-level C. Low-level C means I have built all the header files from scratch also. I have not taken any library from use. And the major part what I am working on is when I publish it, I work on the startup. I will build everything from scratch which is available online. So if the main thing is the what we call a cross compiler. It is the worst thing to compile first for an operating system. उसको compile करने में बहुत time लगता है, बहुत सारे errors आते हैं, and no one can do it. It's the only dependency. If it is cured, anyone can build the operating system. So we'll work on that for further time when we will start this. Currently the project I am building, it has a POSIX standard kernel. It works like this. If you can see, the commands are working. Main USP of this is I have made the code very modular. I have made modules for everything. If you want to integrate with GPU, any kind of GPU, I have made the modules. I have made a function, working function, which will you can use to generate your code, to write your own code. It will work as well. And I have second thing what I have done is made a documentation on Cherry Tree. Cherry Tree is a tool, very primitive tool for Linux, but it is very well structured for documentation. All the CVs are reported in Cherry Tree format. So I have done it very well. And what I will suggest, if someone have a basic knowledge of assembly and C, he or she could build their own operating system from scratch within a week, when it will be completed. And the major reason for this operating system is everyone in the world right now is using Linux kernel to build their own operating system. Even AWS and all the major companies also using Linux kernel. They just compile their own sets of their kernel. So the drawback is Linux kernel is open source. If I know AWS has this hardware specs, I can just work on this that उनको ये modules need हुए होंगे अपने उस hardware को integrate करने में, और मैं उसका source code निकालूंगा और वहाँ से मुझे vulnerabilities मिल जाएंगी. Which is what happening right now. AWS और जितने भी cloud आपके जब जो भी systems होते हैं, उन पर सबसे ज़्यादा hardware kernel level attacks होते हैं. उन पर Bitcoin miners चलते हैं, उनकी hardware बहुत जल्दी खराब हो जाता है. So उस चीज़ को ठीक करने के लिए we need kernel from scratch, an operating system from scratch for everything. अगर आप अपने खुद के कर्नल में अगर आप उसको लिनक्स जैसा बनाते हो और अपने कर्नल के मॉड्यूल्स के नाम भी अगर कुछ अलग कर देते हो तो 90% of the malwares won't work on it. सो सिक्योरिटी रीजंस के लिए और एजुकेशनल पर्पस के लिए मेरा प्रोजेक्ट काम आता है। इसमें मैंने और जो चीज़ें ऐड करी हैं, इसमें मैंने हर कमिट जो मैं गिटहब पे अपना डालता हूँ उसमें एक वर्किंग फंक्शन, एक वर्किंग आउटपुट आपको दिखाई देता है। क्यूमू वी आर यूजिंग, क्यूमू इज एमुलेटर जो बिल्कुल हार्डवेयर का आपको एग्जैक्ट एमुलेट करता है, वेरी एफिशिएंट। सो दिस इज द VX64 kernel. I have ported it from 32 to 64 bit. And what the another tool is this AI. I have named as BB, as Bumblebee short form. It will work on shell. We don't need a browser, we don't need anything for the initial stage when someone is developing anything. If we have the internet connectivity on that shell, if you can see it's working, it can help you in anything for the building purposes, for the operating system purposes, for the commands, for any debugging issues. Right now it uses some APIs, as we can not port OpenAI, we cannot run it locally on a primitive shell. So this is again VX32-bit system, and it works like this on the shell, on terminal both. And these are some tools I have built. This is a Vimgo. I call it Vimgo. It is a file traversal system for shell. So when we are using shell or terminal for Linux and any operating system, we have to write long commands and everything. So this file traversal system just makes it easy for us. And if there is some file we want to write, we have to work on, it just opens in the Vim text editor, which is very efficient editor used by 90% of the Linux users. And I just exit it. I am again in this. Second thing I have built, this is a text editor, not very advanced, but it will also help people to understand how things work from scratch, how VS Code is built from scratch, how Notepad is built from scratch, and how the things also work again. So I can write anything like this in this. For the security reasons, for major companies, everyone is using Linux kernel, but if they are building it from scratch, it just enlighten their security at a very vast level. For the students right now, you do not see anyone building their own operating system on Linux or anything from scratch. We are building programming languages like Rust. We have to build it for better memory management, but they are still slower than C. I'm not talking about assembly. Assembly is way much faster, way much efficient, but no one is using assembly. We are going to complex compilers and everything to make it look, मतलब टू इजी लैंग्वेज में हम उसको कोड कर सकें. बट अगर कोई असेंबली लैंग्वेज में सीख के कोई प्रोग्राम बनाता है, कोई सॉफ्टवेयर बनाता है, इट इज़ वे हार्डर टू रिवर्स इंजीनियर, इट इज़ वे सिक्योर एंड वेरी मच फास्टर, एंड बिकॉज हम उसमें रजिस्टर्स लेवल पर जाकर हम मेमोरी को मैनेज कर सकते हैं. बट इन रस्ट एंड ऑल हमें सबको अपर लेवल से, हायर लेवल लैंग्वेज से करना पड़ता है. सो एक रेवोल्यूशन इज, आप लो लेवल लैंग्वेज में इसमें मैं लोगों को लाना चाहता हूँ ताकि वो असेंबली, सी, ऐसी लैंग्वेजेस में बहुत ज़्यादा सॉफ्टवेयर बनाने का ट्राई करें, क्योंकि सब कुछ पॉसिबल है उनमें, बस थोड़ा सा हार्ड होता है. सेकेंड थिंग, आप अभी देखो कोई भी ऐसा प्रोजेक्ट इस टाइप का नहीं बनाता है, कर्नल टाइप का. इट्स लाइक कि मैं अगर बनाना शुरू किया तो मेरे से पहले 6 और 7 ईयर्स पहले किसी ने एक बार ट्राई किया था कॉलेज में. आई एम नॉट सीइंग एनीवन, देयर इज नॉट वेल डेवलप्ड कम्युनिटी फॉर कर्नल डेवलपर्स. सो what I will do is I am making a Scratch community with a Debian based community. So Debian is a type of Linux operating system. Debian packages are there, and there is Arch Linux. दो Linux होते हैं. तो Arch Linux has a very well documented documentation available online, क्योंकि वो पहले से बन चुका था. But Debian right now is the most used Linux. वो सारे जितने भी आपके 90% सर्वर से सब Ubuntu बनते हैं, which is also Debian based. Debian packages चलते हैं. But उसको डिबगिंग के लिए हमारे पास well structured community नहीं है. So I'll build a Debian community with the Scratch community, and that will just make a revolution in this field. So for the monetization purposes, I'm getting this operating system open source so that we get a user base. The community will be open source, we get the user base from there, and at the very back end we will provide certifications for Scratch community, because we have everything for like EC Council for ethical hacking for purposes, and but nothing for Scratch, nothing for assembly, nothing for low level C, nothing for kernel developers, not very much. Though our certifications will be certified or notified by industry, and we will provide them. Again, for the second thing for the monetization is the training programs, not online courses. We will provide training programs to institutions on a contract basis, so that their students could learn something new, something important, something great for their resume. Like if someone says I have done some project in assembly in the resume, तो colleges को placement में बहुत फायदा होगा, बच्चों को बहुत फायदा होगा.